How's it going, everybody? It's me again. We're back once more. Um, I wasn't I wasn't planning on doing a video about the FDA regulations. I mean, if you're like me, I've watched tons of them online. A lot of YouTubers, a lot of reviewers, all up in arms about it. But there's a couple things that just didn't set well with me, and I was just wanting to do a video about it. If you notice all the mess behind me and all the bare 2x4s, I bought this house last year as a tax foreclosure, and me and a friend are working on fixing it up. And right now they're getting drywall because we've been working late nights, so I just decided to shoot the video now. Also, if you see me looking down a lot or you hear the paper, I made notes so I make sure I get everything out because I have just a terrible memory. But if you stick with it and watch the video, towards the end, I'm gonna somewhere between now and the end, I'm gonna announce a giveaway I want to do. So somebody's gonna win some stuff. Um, yeah, the regulations. The first thing I didn't really that really caught me as odd is the regulations are set up to include vaping under tobacco, and I don't see why. I mean, I don't see. I guess I don't see any similarities in between the two, other than they both give you nicotine. But then even that isn't very similar because with vaping you can better regulate how much nicotine you're taking. With cigarettes, I mean, which when we're talking about tobacco, we're talking cigarettes. That's what it all boils down to. But with cigarettes, they spray nicotine onto tobacco leaves, so you never really know how much nicotine you're going to get. It can be anywhere between 0 all the way up to like 24 milligrams. And that's a cigarette. Um, but other than that, the way you take in the vapor or take in the smoke is completely different. One uses a flame to combust, and one uses coils to heat up the liquid. And cigarettes by far have way more toxic chemicals than vaping does. I mean, depending on what website you go to, there's anywhere between 2,000 to 4,000 chemicals found in tobacco. And when you smoke a cigarette, that smoke that you're inhaling, it has hydrogen cyanide, tar, formaldehyde, benzene, carbon monoxide, just to name a few. Those are all very toxic, very cancer causing chemicals. Benzene and tar, they've been known to cause cancer. Tar plugs up your lungs. Formaldehyde, they use that to embalm shit. And then hydrogen cyanide, that was a gas that was used to kill people. So, I mean, yeah, it's way more toxic smoking a cigarette. And it makes you wonder if this is what you're taking into your body, what's people around you get? I mean, what's in the what are you releasing into the actual environment? When you think about one person, it's not very much, but when you're thinking about 20 billion, 100 billion worldwide, I mean that's a big difference. So yeah, I mean, just something I was thinking of that I haven't really even heard of anybody ever doing a study to see how much of that gas, how much of the toxic chemicals are actually released into the ozone. So to me, vaping when done properly, by far is a safer alternative. And then it's not just safer for you the vapor. It's also safer for the children that you're around. It's safer for the adults that you're around. I mean, as far as I know, there's no environmental risk with the liquids inside uh, e-juice. But the FDA's official reason for doing this was because they were they were concerned about the safety of the U.S. citizens, and they were concerned about the safety of children. But when you know what's in a cigarette, I have to call bullshit on that. I think they were not at all concerned, because if they were concerned, you think they would be doing more to regulate what chemicals a tobacco company can spray on their tobacco, whether it's out in the field or ready to be made into cigarettes. Let me hit this. And I'm thinking part of the reason they want to include this under tobacco is because if it's under the tobacco category, then it gets that pricey tobacco tax. So, like oops, almost spilled it. Your bottles of e-juice would get a tobacco tax on it. Your mods, they would get a tobacco tax on it. Your tanks, they would get tobacco tax. Your coils, stuff that you use to, if you have RTAs like me or RDAs, your materials for coils are going to get a tobacco tax on them. Everything. I mean, just depends on how far down they want to go, or how much they want to include under tobacco, all the way down to your batteries. Your batteries could have a tobacco tax on it. So, I mean, I think that's part of the reason why they wanted to regulate vaping, is because they see millions of people doing it and they're not getting no damn money out of it. And, it's obvious that every year more people die, or more people are adversely affected by smoking cigarettes as opposed to by vaping. And it costs taxpayers millions and millions of dollars every year in hospitalization and insurance increases because of cigarettes. There's some insurance companies, if you're a smoker, they won't even put you in a program. So you're just screwed. So I mean, we know vaping's safer of it if it's done properly. Now I've seen people on my TV, because I live in Ohio. I've seen people like up in Cleveland and stuff accidentally blow themselves up, or accidentally blow up a mod and it's damaged their eyes or hands or something. I've seen on TV and on YouTube. I've seen mother left her e juice down, or father left his e juice down to where the kids could get it, and a little infant accidentally got the e juice and got sick or died. People, it's just like this. If you're not responsible enough to put your juice where a little kid cannot get it, if you are not responsible enough to put your mod up where a little kid can't get it, if you're not smart enough to do some freaking research on what kind of tanks or what kind of RDAs can you use on a hybrid mech mod, then you really shouldn't be doing nothing. You should just be sitting in a corner alone because you are probably the stupidest person on earth. I mean, I've only been vaping for 2 years, and in 2 years, I know on a hybrid mech mod, I cannot put a tank on it that does not have a protruding 510. And if you look at a protruding 510, a millimeter is not enough. Something that protrudes like maybe the Gemini would be enough. Because the Gemini will fuck up other mods. Because it just protrudes way too far. Fix that, Vapresso. Tired of buying your shit and it not being good. So, I mean, I just anymore can't help but think of this government as being completely and utterly, totally fucking worthless. I'm 44, going on 44. Let's not make myself older. And in my years, I have not seen one stinking thing that the government has done that's actually helped us. And when I say us, I mean the U.S. citizens, not the companies, not corporations, not themselves. U.S. citizens, average people like you and me. And I can't help but agree at this point with all these people on social media and uh, just people online, different websites that want to get as many U.S. citizens as they can and go to Capitol Hill and demand the government's resignation because they want to put people in that are better suited or that aren't going to be corruptible, that are going to help the U.S. citizens. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's time for a change. When you guys are wasting billions of tax dollars that I worked for, and you're wasting a bunch of time that I pay for on stupid regulations for something that doesn't even need to be regulated, then I really got to say that that's enough. Enough's enough. So, with that being said, I have 4 things that the government can do for us, the U.S. citizens, that would not be a waste of tax dollars, that would not be a waste of their time, and that would actually help U.S. citizens, not corporations, not big businesses, but U.S. citizens. So, let me hit this. Without without further ado, let's get to it. Number 1, let's work on phasing out the tobacco company's chokehold on U.S. citizens. We all know smoking is by far more dangerous and costs U.S. citizens more every year. I mean, basically, if you're a tobacco company that makes cigarettes, get out of the Stone Ages, come to the new world, the more advanced world. Start making your own mods. Start making your own e-juice. Start making your own tanks. With billions of dollars in R&D, You could make some really kick-ass tanks. You could make some really kick-ass mods. Better than that fucking Gemini. I mean, you can make some really good juice. And you could be making money off of this stuff instead of selling, like, the views. I don't know of anybody that uses the views. It sucks. And if that's your R&D, you suck. Hire me. I will make you some good shit. I will make you some fucking quality mods and tanks. I like tanks. Except that Gemini. Alright, number 2. This actually falls under them motherfuckers at the FDA. But it's a good thing that they can do. And FDA, this falls under you. Why don't you work on getting rid of prescription narcotics? We're talking opiates, we're talking benzodiazepines, we're talking about all these prescription drugs that have been known to be habit forming and abused. Let's work on finding non habit forming, non addictive drugs that we can substitute for these habit forming addictive drugs. And then let's force these drug manufacturers to stop making the stuff in the US. This affects way more people than what you even think. If you've had your house broken into and you've been robbed within the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it's probably somebody with a drug problem that needs some quick cash. If you've had your car broken into, if you've had your wallet stolen, if you've had houses like this that you've wired up and then 2 days after you've wired it, somebody's kicked in the front door and ripped out all the wire. It's probably somebody that's needing some quick cash. Not to mention all the all the vehicle accidents that occur because somebody's under the influence of a controlled substance, all the shootings involved over bad drug deals. I mean, this affects millions of people across the nation. So, FDA, work on fixing this shit. That's something I would let you spend billions of my dollars fixing. And then while you're at it, part 2 of that is let's work on better treatment facilities and let's work on better funding for these facilities for people that want to get off the addiction. Currently in my state, there's not too many good ones. I think there might be 3 or 4, but everybody that I know, they actually take their family member or take their friend out of state because there's really not many good ones in Ohio. So let's work on fixing that. Let's work on, if somebody really wants to get off the stuff, let's work on helping them get off the stuff. It's going to save me a lot more money down the road. Let's also, and then I don't really know who this works under. I think this is Congress. Let's also work on making a nationwide 3-strike program for drug related offenses. If you've had 3 similar drug related offenses, you're done. Put them in prison for the rest of their life. I don't give a shit. I'd rather pay for them to be in prison than keep paying for court costs. Number 3, let's do something about the millions of U.S. citizens right now that are jobless and also homeless. And what we can do is just like these. If somebody has a job but just couldn't make their house payments and got evicted, there's plenty of these tax foreclosures that we could give somebody. There's organizations that could probably help fix them up for the people, especially if they got kids involved. I don't even like thinking about a little child being homeless in the middle of winter, but it happens every year. People living in their cars, people living in their tents. Up in Sandusky, Ohio, there it was Sandusky or Cleveland, but anyways, up north of me, there was a tent city behind one of the WalMarts. This has gotten a little bit out of hand. Let's stop giving all of this all this fucking money to Iraq and Iran and all these other countries to rebuild them. And let's start putting this money back into the U.S. citizens' pockets. Let's start putting this money back where it belongs. I don't give a shit if we bombed Iran or Iraq, Afghanistan, and we leveled their town. I don't give a crap. We did it because of terrorism. But I do give a crap when there's an 8-year-old kid that doesn't have a place to sleep, or there's a little 9 or 10-year-old girl that's worried about her mom and dad, or not getting a meal, or worried about getting raped because they don't have a home. So let's fix this. Let's get them homes. Let's get them someplace to call their own. Let's build bigger shelters. Also, let's work on getting these people decent paying jobs. You know, I hear all the time on the news about we need to stimulate the economic growth. We need to get more companies to open their doors in the US. No, you don't. What you need to do is you need to get the companies that are in the US, you need to get them to stop hiring temporary employees through temp services. If you think about it, and I can give you a case at hand, one of the companies right here local had 200, used to hire 200, they had a 250 person full time force. That company now, it's been 7 years since I worked for them. And that company now has 122 full time associates. The rest, they outsource through temp services because it's easier and cheaper on them. So there's over 100 $20 an hour jobs that are given to temps that are given to temporary associates through a temp service, and those associates are only making $9 an hour. And where does all that extra money go? It goes to the pockets of a few people, not 100 and some people, a few people. They're not spending. Those 9 or 10, those 120 or 150 temps are spending, but they're not spending much because they're not making much. Get rid of the temp services and allow and make these companies hire a set number of employees, like half of their workforce or 3/4 of the workforce, as full-time associates, or take away their tax breaks. You know what? 9 out of 10 companies, they don't have the money to shut down, pack up, and move out of the country. They don't. So what are they going to do? They're going to do what we want them to do. And you know what? If they do leave, boycott the shit. Don't allow it to be imported into the U.S. And also, while we're on the subject of employment, let's get rid of the ability for an employer to do a criminal background check or a do a credit check. First of all, unless you're an accountant, well, no, let me rephrase that. They should never be allowed to check your credit rating. Never. I don't give a crap. I was going to say accountant, but you know what? Even if you're crappy at taking care of your own money, you can probably manage somebody's money fairly decent. But I know, and I've like this kid that's working for me. He's a really good kid. He got a felony when he was 18. He's 20 now. And you know what? He's went into some of these companies around here. He's went into that temp service. And and one of the stories that I can remember is he went to this company. They come out, told him he was overqualified for the position because he had several years of forklift experience. He had went to classes for forklift training, but they threw his application in the trash in front of him and said, "We don't hire your kind." Excuse me? Not hiring somebody because they are an ex-felon? Not hiring somebody because they don't have a good credit score? That's the same thing in my book as saying I'm not going to hire you because you're a black person. That's prejudice. That's discrimination. That is just completely and utterly ludicrous that they would say that he was overqualified for the position, but they weren't going to hire him because he was a felon. So, government, that's your fuck up. You clean that mess up. You get it to where these companies can only use your criminal record if the crime is directly related to the job you are applying for. If you got DUI, fuck no, I don't want you behind the wheel of a rig. If you're a bank robber, no, I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you working at a bank. Surely, if you're a child molester or a pedophile, I don't want to see you working at a daycare. But all of those three that I just mentioned, you're damn straight they could slap steel at a steel mill or they can work in a factory building parts. There shouldn't be no reason why a company can say, "You got a felony, I'm not going to hire you." There shouldn't be no reason why that company is looking at your credit record. So, number four, and I'm getting sort of, this is going to be a long video. Just keep watching. Let's do something to better the conditions for families in food insecure homes. Right now, the way it sets, there is women and children in a home that is necessarily doesn't necessarily have enough food to eat. And it's a shame because there is a lot of farmers and there is a lot of other companies, produce companies, stores, warehouses that grade or sort for produce and they throw a lot of it away. Perfectly good stuff, it just doesn't meet certain criteria. And there's millions of women and children that are maybe towards the end of the month not getting a meal every day or not getting something to eat every day. There's farmers that are leaving produce out in the fields to rot because the bottom line is if this isn't a perfect grade A peach or grade A pear or a grade A apple, if it has blemishes, it's not worth as much. So what? It's not worth their time to package it. So, we need to create places that these companies, like these farmers or these produce manufacturers or these warehouses or stores or really anybody that has usable, edible food. We need to create places where they can send us food or they can take us food, area food banks, homeless shelters, direct to the person that needs it. I don't know. And then we need to offer them something for doing it. So they're making something off. I mean, we throw away tens of millions of tons of fresh fruit and produce in the landfills. And then when it starts spoiling and it starts rotting, it creates methane gas. And we're whining and crying about cow farts out in Missouri when there's tens of billions of tons of produce that somebody else could be eating sitting out in a dump rot. I'm sure there's a way that the government can do something to fix this and make this to where it's not going to happen. Or if it does happen, at least now some of this stuff's going to go to the families that need it because I don't want to see anybody starving. I'm a big guy, so I know I don't starve. But I don't want to see women and children starving when there's food that we could potentially have access to and they could have something in their bellies. Okay, so with that being said, and that was a lot, we're going to do the giveaway. Basically, I come up with 4 things that the government can do and to help U.S. citizens. Now, what I want is everybody that's watched this video, I want you to like it, and then I want you down in the comment section below to put one thing that the government can do for us to help U.S. citizens. And I want you to put whether you would like a mod or a tank. And I'm going to, in a couple weeks, probably 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to go through them and pick the one I like the best. And I'm going to order and just have shipped to you a tank or a mod. Now, this is coming out of my pocket, so I'm going to say it's not going to go up over $50. There's a lot of nice tanks, a lot of nice mods that you can get for under $50. And the rules: you must be a U.S. citizen, you must be 18 years of age or older, and I will require some sort of proof. I'll think of something. You will be required to only do one comment. If you do multiple comments, when I run it through the generator, I'll find it and I'll disqualify it. I want to try to keep this as I want the comments left clean and serious. I don't want a bunch of people writing down the government can get me a hooker or whatever. I want something that the government can do for all U.S. citizens, not just you. And like I said, in 3 weeks, and then like I said, I also want to see a mod or a tank. And then like I said, and we'll do 3 weeks. That should give plenty of people because my channel's not very big and not many people watch. We'll give it 3 weeks, and then we will pick a winner, and I'll send you the item. What I might do is I might message you and give you the choice of a couple items, and you can pick which one. All right. Thanks for watching.